I used to believe marriage got easier with time, that once the excitement faded, something deeper and stronger would take its place. I truly believed that. But I was wrong. What replaced the spark wasn't comfort or peace. It was silence. A polite, empty kind of silence that fills the space between two people who used to love each other but now only share the same roof. My husband, David, and I still said good morning, still shared meals, still slept in the same bed, technically. But even lying inches apart, he felt like a stranger. The kind of stranger who once knew your body, your secrets, your laughter, and then forgot how to touch any of it. The house was quiet. Predictable. Too clean. Too still. And somewhere inside that stillness, I began to disappear. Then, one summer evening, everything started to change slowly, quietly, when Ethan, my stepson, moved back home from college. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. He just needed a place to stay while he figured out his next steps. I told myself it would be nice to have him around again, that maybe the laughter of a younger voice would make the house feel alive. And for a while, it did. He filled the rooms with noise and warmth, music, late-night movies, take-out dinners. The house breathed again. And so did I. But it wasn't the same as before. Ethan wasn't the lanky, awkward teenager I remembered. He had grown into a man, steady, confident, with a calmness that reminded me of everything I'd lost with David. Sometimes he'd look at me, really look at me, and it did something strange inside my chest. I'd tell myself I was imagining it, that it was innocent. But my hands would tremble when I'd smooth my hair before going downstairs. And I hated myself for noticing. I blamed it on the loneliness, the endless nights lying next to a man who hadn't touched me in years. I told myself I just wanted to be seen. To be wanted. Just once. One night, David left again for another business trip. He didn't even say goodbye, just a quick text, "Be back Thursday." That was it. I sat downstairs watching a mindless show, trying to ignore the ache that had settled into me. Ethan was on the couch, half watching, half laughing at something on his phone. He made a joke, something silly, and I laughed harder than I should have. When I stood up to go to bed, he reached out and grabbed my wrist, teasing me not to leave him alone with the boring movie. It was playful, until it wasn't. His fingers lingered. Just a second too long. And in that second, the air changed. I pulled my hand back, heart racing. "Good night, Ethan," I said, forcing a smile. He smiled back, gentle and unaware, or maybe pretending to be. I couldn't tell. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying that tiny moment over and over. The warmth of his hand, the sound of his laugh, the way his eyes had flickered, not boyish, not innocent. My whole body felt awake in a way it hadn't in years. Then I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, hesitant. I froze, my pulse thudding in my ears. For a moment, I thought I imagined it, but then I felt it. A quiet presence near my door. I squeezed my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. Pretending I didn't feel the air shift in the room. Pretending I didn't want to know if it was him. The door never opened. The footsteps faded. But I stayed awake until dawn, caught between fear and a dangerous kind of curiosity. The next morning, everything was perfectly normal. He smiled at me over coffee, his voice light and easy. "Morning," he said, like nothing had happened. And I smiled back, pretending I wasn't still shaking inside. Days turned into weeks. We brushed past each other in the kitchen, careful not to look too long. But every glance, every accidental touch, chipped away at the thin walls I'd built around myself. Until one night, I came downstairs for a glass of water and found him sitting alone on the couch in the dark. The TV was on but muted, its glow flickering across his face. He looked up at me, his expression tired, vulnerable in a way that made my chest ache. "You okay?" I asked softly. He shrugged. "Just thinking. I should have walked away. I should have gone back upstairs. But instead, I sat beside him. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. The silence between us wasn't empty this time, it was charged. Alive. Our knees brushed. Neither of us moved. He turned his head, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked, though I already knew. For how I've been looking at you. My breath caught. I wanted to tell him to stop. I wanted to be strong. But instead, I said the truth, the one thing I'd been too afraid to say out loud. You're not the only one. The words hung there, heavy and dangerous. His hand found mine. I didn't pull away. When our lips met, it wasn't soft or tender. It was hungry. Desperate. Like two people trying to feel something real after years of pretending. The kiss stole my breath and every bit of sense I had left. It wasn't love. It wasn't right. But it was real. And in that moment, it was everything. When we finally broke apart, we just sat there, breathing hard, wide-eyed, wrecked. Guilt hit me instantly, sharp and cold, but underneath it, there was something else. Something I couldn't unfeel. I pressed my forehead against his, whispering, "We can't." He nodded slowly, stood up, and walked away without another word. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there in the flickering light of the TV, my lips trembling, my heart breaking. The world outside hadn't changed, but inside me, everything had. The next morning, he left early. We didn't speak about it. We never did. But every time I walked past that couch, I could still feel the ghost of what happened. And though I tried to bury it, tried to go back to being the quiet wife in the quiet house, I couldn't forget. Not the way he looked at me. Not the way, for just one night, I felt alive again. It wasn't right. It wasn't love. But it was the first thing in years that made me feel. And no matter how much I wanted to hate myself for it, a part of me never wanted that feeling to fade. Not ever again.